Hello and welcome back to Redirecting. Now this next story that I'm going to be talking about, I already know that my viewers are going to be split because some of us lean more towards the correcting of our actions as a people, while others lean more towards the, I want to call it coddling. I was going to say pity at first, but I'm going to say coddling of our people. Now, this situation, the reason why it may cause my viewing audience to be split is because we're talking about a 15-year-old. Now, the story, the way it was framed at first, basically made it seem like the young lady was put in juvenile detention because she failed to finish her online schoolwork. Okay, that's the way the story was framed at first, but when you read deeper into the whole story, there's actually more to it than just her not completing her online schoolwork. The way the story goes is like this. The young lady was already on probation. She was on probation for theft and for putting her hands on her mother. Okay, that's what she was on probation for. And so apparently anything that you do to violate your probation results in action. Being put in juvenile detention in her case because she's 15. And so because she failed to complete her online schoolwork, they use that as an opportunity to say that she has violated her probation, which the original probation was put in place because of theft and putting her hands on her mother. Okay? So that is actually how the story should have been framed, because some are reporting it only saying that she was put in juvenile because she didn't complete her online schoolwork. That's not the full story. Okay. I'm learning more and more that you really have to look at these things that are being reported, because I see a narrative that they are really trying to frame up and make appear a certain way. Now, I do agree that we do not get fair treatment when it comes to certain things, but I also feel that there is this effort to really try to highlight racial things to the point where it creates a lot of tension in the communities. Okay. One story in particular that I thought about is they were trying to say, or actually they weren't trying to, but they were saying, there was a report put out that white people or white Americans got their stimulus checks a lot faster than blacks and Latinos. Now I said, why are they reporting on something like this so long after these stimulus checks were even issued or in the first place? And how do we know this? Because they said that stimulus checks would come out at a certain date. And I didn't see or hear too many people who said that they didn't get their stimulus check on that date. So I'm trying to figure out, why was that story framed that way, and why are they even reporting on it to say that some whites got their checks a lot faster? To me, that is one of those issues of stirring the racial pot. Now, we already have enough racial issues that are real and valid than to be adding something like that into the pot, you see. And so with this story here, I do definitely agree that there's a lot that's being done to so-called black people that's not happening to others. It's just not. It is what it is. It's the truth. We know this, right? But in this story, I do see that some who reported on this didn't tell the full story. They only they wanted you to believe that the young lady was put on probation. I'm sorry, not put on probation, but put in juvenile because she failed to complete her schoolwork. But they didn't tell you that she violated her probation, which had an original couple of offenses, not just one. You see, one would argue, or some would argue and say, that this is kind of harsh for simply not doing your schoolwork being put in juvenile. But when you look at the other things, those are two things that you can definitely go to juvenile for. But what they did in this case, they said, okay, I don't know if she spent time in there before, but they said because she violated probation, they put her in juvenile because of those offenses, okay? The violation of the original offenses. And so it's kind of a sketchy thing here. One thing that I want to weigh in on is the Most High don't play with putting your hands on your parents. Okay, that's a no-no right there. That one is a no-no. So if anything, the juvenile should have been for that, because you just don't do it. Of course, the mom forgives her. She misses her child. You know, she hadn't seen her in a month, and so she had to get closer to her so that she could, right? Situations dealing with children is just really kind of sketchy, definitely. The girl was kind of getting a little bogged down by this whole lockdown thing, as a lot of people were, okay? A lot of people were bogged down by it, and so with all of that, it's really kind of touch and go. But they're basically saying that she didn't break a law again. The 15-year-old wasn't in trouble for fighting with her mother or stealing, which was the original issue that got her probation in the first place. She wasn't in trouble for that again, but for violating. See, there's the difference, for violating her probation. So that's how that goes when you violate your probation, even though the violation may be something very minute. As in the case of an adult, it can be a violation of your probation to go outside of a region that you weren't supposed to. Say, for instance, you were living in Michigan and you just traveled just across the border to Toledo, Ohio. There could be a law in place where you cannot go outside of the state, which would violate your probation. If that's the case, if they say you can't go outside of the state while on probation and you cross the line into Toledo, now whoever catches you can have mercy on you, or they can say, look, you violated your probation. Therefore, we are going to give you this much time. These laws, I tell you, are really, really stacked against so-called melanated people. And since we know this, we've got to walk a tightrope. I know you all are going to be split. Do you think this is kind of too much for the young lady to be put on probation for what she did, the violation, but the original thing being stealing and fighting with her mother? Or do you think this was okay, that she does need to go into juvenile detention for violating her probation, in which, again, you know what she was put on probation for in the first place? So what are your thoughts on this? I'm not going to put a poll. Well, actually, I think I may put a poll in the back office too, because I like to see the numbers in terms of who's voted and what some of your thoughts are. But you can put your thoughts under the video as well. But what are your thoughts? Was the sentencing too harsh for this young lady? Okay, if you think it was too harsh, please let us know. If not, let us know that as well. With that, I am out. Be sure to ring the bell to be notified of new uploads on this channel, and also comment, share, like, and subscribe.